Perfect.
All right. All right, here we go. Hello and welcome to another edition of Who Are We? It's May 28, 2019. My name is Jonathan Kinsunji, and I'm the creator of Equality, Diversity, and Inclusion Now. The acronym is EDIN, exclamation mark. This is a people advocacy group currently stationed in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, which main focus is to educate and promote awareness and understanding of the many citizens we live with every day, giving you those diverse stories. Whether it would be your neighbor, relative, friend, or acquaintance, everyone is different, and we have to cherish and celebrate who you are and listen what you have to say as well. I am also your host for today.
Yay.
Joining me on this journey, I have Daniela Chirinos.
Hi.
I met Daniela this past January through a previous employer, and we stayed connected. Getting to know her, I love her passion, knowledge, and hunger for life, and that she is an advocate in her own right by bringing to light a lot of issues which are important for people to know. I also love that her heart is open and she stays true wherever she goes, which she will talk about. I am to the moon to have her on the show today. So Daniela, let's get to know you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so tell us your story. Who is Daniela Chirinos?
Okay, so Daniela Chirinos is a Venezuelan born and raised woman. I identify as a woman. I was born in Venezuela and I moved to Canada almost 10 years ago this August.
Oh wow, congrats.
Yes, a big anniversary, the 10 year.
Yeah.
Daniela is a person who is passionate about diversity and inclusion, who is passionate about LGBT plus rights and advocacy, someone who is passionate about music, who loves to go to rock concerts, someone who enjoys making new friends and making connections with people, and just someone who really wants to make a positive impact in her community and the world.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I have to say, your skin tone is light in nature, as you can see, lighter than me.
Yeah.
What are your ethnic roots? Have you researched your family tree at all?
So it's funny, I have, yeah.
Okay,
so
good.
Actually I did the ancestry test a few months back because, you know, I don't look, I mean, there's no such thing as looking Latina. Like the Latino community is so diverse within itself that there are people that look, you know, all sorts of shapes and colors. But you know, when people think of Latinas, they think of this like beautiful cinnamon skin, which I unfortunately don't have. And so I always wanted to, I was always curious and wanted to see if there was maybe some sort of, you know, somewhere up on my family tree that would, maybe I came from Germans or Polish or someone. My partner Alcimar always teases me and says that I'm Polish because I'm so white. And so I got the test, and actually I am mostly Portuguese, and Spanish, which makes sense just based on the immigration to Venezuela.
Yeah.
But I also have a large percentage of Native American in me, so I'm almost 26% indigenous, believe it or not.
That's right.
And especially on my father's side, I actually know family that looks indigenous, and they're directly related to me. So that I don't know why I look the way that I look, but if I like looking at my DNA results, I come from European, Spanish and Portuguese background, but I was born and raised in Venezuela. And as far as my family tree goes, I know up until my great grandmother, they were all born in Venezuela. So I'm not really sure. It's still kind of a question mark for me, but.
That's right.
But yes.
But Venezuelan, 100%.
Yes,
Great.
100%.
Okay,
yeah.
And that brings us to the next question. So you are born and raised in the country of Venezuela, which you are very proud of.
I am.
What are some of the things you want people to know about where you come from?
Well, you know what? Venezuela is a country that has been lately in the public eye for very unfortunate reasons. Which I'm not going to elaborate on because that's not really what I want people to know about my country. What I want people to know about Venezuela is that it is a beautiful country. It is super diverse. It is actually in size, the same size as Ontario, but it has all ecosystems within it. So in a country the size of just the province of Ontario, you can find desert, mountainous, snowy mountains, jungle, plains, beaches, beautiful, beautiful beaches. It is very, very diverse. It is very, how do you say that? Fertile. So, you know, anything that basically you plant grows. Back in the day, we used to export many things like cocoa and coffee and black beans and just a lot of things that we don't export anymore, but you know, if we plant them, they will grow. It's a very beautiful country. The people are very beautiful. They're very warm and open and friendly. I remember growing up, we used to get people that would come in from exchange, like exchange students back when I was in high school, and they all never wanted to leave because, the people are very super friendly and warm, and they love to party and dance, and it's just, it's a beautiful place. Unfortunately, right now it's not in its best situation, but it is really beautiful, and hopefully a lot of people eventually will have the opportunity to go there and see it.
Okay, great. So as an immigrant, what made you want to come to Canada to start a new life?
So I am fairly young, and I came to Canada fresh out of high school, and back then things in my country weren't so bad, and really the reason why I wanted to come here is because like I wanted to get away from home and just have a different experience. I wanted to perfect my English. I went to a bilingual school, so I had pretty good English, but I wanted to perfect it, and I also just wanted to be free. I had a very happy childhood, but my parents were kind of strict, and I was very sheltered. And I just wanted to do whatever I wanted. Really. Sure. So I moved to Canada just because I had been to the US a few times, and I just didn't feel like I was a fit for that society. And I wanted to go to Australia first, and my dad told me, no freaking way. Australia is super far, and the time difference, like it was a no. And my parents had been to Canada once before, and my dad said, why don't you go to Canada? It's pretty nice up there. And I was like, okay. I didn't really know anything about Canada. I had no idea how multicultural and diverse it was. I thought I was going to come here and it was just going to be like light blue-eyed Caucasian people, and I was very surprised when I got here and realized that it was completely the opposite. But yeah, I came here to perfect my English, and so I did that. Then I decided that I wanted to stay, and I applied for school, and I got into college. I did college, and then, you know, me getting used to Canadian society and forming meaningful friendships and relationships here, starting to feel like this was my home, plus the fact that the situation in my country was getting worse and worse, kind of made it easy for me to just decide to stay here. And so this is home now.
Okay. And how do you find Toronto or even Canada's diversity now that you live here?
Definitely the diversity is one of the things that I love the most about Toronto and Canada, because I've been fortunate enough to go around, and I've been to Calgary and Montreal and Vancouver, like the bigger cities, and it's pretty diverse all around, and that's one of my favorite things about Canada. I love how I've learned about every culture. I'm from a small town in Venezuela, not even from the capital, and so I wasn't really exposed that much to other cultures other than through sometimes TV maybe. So I loved how I've been able to learn about different religions, points of views, cultures, rituals, like everything. I've had the pleasure of working in different types of institutions and environments, and I've done everything from like serving and cleaning floors to now working in a corporation. And just like being exposed to that diversity is definitely by far one of the most, like one of my favorite things about Canada and Toronto, of course.
Great, awesome. And you do belong to a diverse community. What, or are you able to share this with us? And what do you identify yourself as?
So I identify as a cisgender bisexual woman. That is how I define myself, and you know, it took me some time and getting to know myself and really doing some deep soul searching to get to that conclusion. But yeah, that's how I identify myself.
Okay, great. And through the grapevine, I heard about about a wedding. So congratulations on your upcoming wedding. How did you and your partner meet and fall in love?
So my partner Alcimar and I, she's also Venezuelan, and we met through a friend in common. It's actually funny because the first time that we met was at this friend's house, and Alcimar didn't like me very much. She said that I thought I was kind of pretentious, which I get a lot from people. But then the second time that we saw each other, it was at a friend's birthday party, and my friend is Mexican, and Mexicans go big with their celebrations, and so we were at a birthday party, and I got there late after work because I used to work as a server back then, and there was a huge long table and everybody was sitting down and chatting, and the only seat available was next to her, to Alcimar. And so I had no choice but to sit next to her. And then we just started talking, and one thing led to another. We then went dancing, and like there was this really creepy guy at the end that wanted to take me out dancing, and she was like, no, she's with me, she's my girl. And I was just like, and then kind of after that, I just felt super attracted to her, and so I looked her up on Facebook. And I messaged her, and we started chatting, and then I was super forward because I was very interested in her. And I don't know, there was just something about her that I just wanted to keep talking to her. I wanted to keep seeing her, and so we kind of went out as friends for a few weeks, and then, things happened, and so 5.5 years later, and we're together and engaged, and hopefully we'll be getting married this November.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very happy.
Thanks for your story. And so, as a cisgendered bisexual woman, as you stated, describe the adversity you had to overcome for being who you are, and what are you faced with today?
Well, there's definitely been, there's this is like a twofold answer. On the one hand, being bisexual, you kind of experience a little bit of judgment from not only straight people, but also from people from the LGBT community. I believe that there's a lot of stigma and misinformation around what is being bisexual. And then you get the type of comments of people like, why are you confused, or why you can't figure out what you like? And it's not really about that. When you're bisexual, you feel attraction to both sexes. And for me personally, it's not really about what you identify is or what your gender identity is. For me, it's more about who you are as a person, what you believe in, and your soul and your essence. And so that's really what it means for me. And so I can find a woman or a man equally attractive as long as their heart is beautiful.
That's right.
And then the other part, so that's been like a bit of adversity, just like dealing with people's ignorance and misconceptions. On the other hand, on the more personal side, it's been tough for my family because I come, like I said, from a very conservative family, and my parents are very religious. And so when I came out to them, which was after about a year that Alcimar and I had been together, I had never been with a woman before, and they kind of never saw it coming, I guess, and it was really tough for them, and it still is. It's a struggle. We're definitely in a much better place, and with me getting engaged now, they kind of realize that
it's real.
Like it's not a phase, and not only that, but like, if they want to continue being a part of my life, they kind of have to accept me how I am. And it's a work in progress, but thankfully my parents really love me.
Of course.
They love me, and even though it's hard for them, they're trying their best to open their hearts and just accept me as I am, even though we obviously differ in some pretty big concepts of what's right, what's normal, what's wrong, what's not normal. But that's another adversity that I've had to overcome, and I keep dealing with still to this day. But I can definitely say, looking back where I was 4 years ago when I came out to now, that definitely my parents are really trying. And I actually was just in Orlando. They live in Florida now, visiting them, and I wasn't sure if they were going to come to my wedding or not. And they told me that they are.
Yeah,
So I
that's
am
great.
like, that means the world to me.
Of
I'm
course.
super excited,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so it definitely is a sign that we are moving forward.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. And so, what are the misconceptions you think people have of the LGBTQ2 spirit community? How does a person educate themselves on this community?
Well, I think that there's a lot. I mean, I just spoke to someone like from the perspective of a bisexual person. I also sometimes I'm a little cautious when it comes to speaking for the community, just because it is such a diverse community that I can't speak for everyone. I just usually try to stick to my personal experience and my personal way of looking at things. But just in general, there are definitely lots of misconceptions, starting from beliefs of everyone that's a member of the community is promiscuous, so there's no true love, and there's a lot of that type of craziness, and just at least if I look at the things that, for example, I've heard from people in my family, a lot of, I don't know specifically the word, but too much freedom, you may say.
So you're saying structure, maybe?
Yes, lack of structure, or that gay relationships can be really lasting. Or they don't believe that two people from the same sex will be together for the rest of their lives and have what we know as a marriage.
Right.
I think that and I can't even begin to think of misconceptions. For example, the T, right, for the transgender people. I can only imagine what they go through. There is a lot of misinformation, I think, and just things that people have just heard and repeated throughout the years, but it's not really a true reflection of what people are, of who we are as a community. Completely the opposite. I mean, I feel like I have found another family in the community, and just that sense of being able to be my true self without any sort of masks or feeling like I have to edit what I say or how I act. I can just be my true self. I love the freedom aspect of the community, how people feel like it doesn't really matter what others think, you can just be yourself and people will love you for who you are. So I think that misconceptions are mostly based on people being just misinformed and ignorant, but I believe that through initiatives like this, and the more talking and educating people, hopefully this will all change. And I feel like already as a society we're making big strides at that. If you look at mainstream media, you see things nowadays that you would have never seen even 5 or 10 years ago, which is not that long ago. So I definitely think that we're trying, and we're slowly getting there, but there's still lots to do.
For sure. Could you identify some of the LGBTQ2 spirit terms which are not politically correct and which ones are hurtful that must be avoided?
Well, that's also something that I think might be different depending on the person. If you ask me what I don't think is politically correct, I don't believe that the word transvestite is used anymore. That is not really well seen. You can use trans or transgendered, which are more neutral terms that are better accepted. Obviously, the F word is completely off limits. That is not cool ever. Only I think that only drag queens get away with using that one in shows. But that's definitely not acceptable. Words like dyke to refer to women that are more masculine looking can be perceived as offensive. It all depends, right? Some women wear the word with pride and that's fine, but it's usually seen as a derogatory term. So I would refrain from using that word. And I the ones that I feel comfortable saying are not appropriate are those.
Okay, thanks. So we're going to bring it back to you now. So describe what you would tell 12-year-old Daniela. Explain what you would tell children who are going through the same thing that you went through.
So when I was 12, I was on 6th grade, going on 7th grade, right? And so I would tell my younger self to listen to that little voice in her head that, you know, is curious about different things. Don't shut it off, because that voice will become louder and louder with time until you cannot ignore it anymore. I will tell her that things are going to be okay, that her parents love her, and that they might be tough on her, but that's just because they love her. And I would tell other kids that are going through similar situations to not be afraid, to ask for help, to go to counseling, to talk to a therapist or a psychologist, whatever you feel comfortable with. Definitely going to therapy in my older years has helped me a lot, and I kind of wish I had done it sooner. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, great. So how do we strive for equality? Where do we need to go to bring inclusion to that next level?
Well, I believe that first, by educating people, it's important. That's the step number one. Because, you know, once people start to learn about different perspectives and points of view, I find that they are more prone to respecting them and accepting them versus trying to impose yourself. And you know, try to recognize our biases, because we all have unconscious biases and over different things, and so it's always good to keep that in mind, so you can, you know, when you're it's impossible not to make judgments, right? I feel like as people, you see something or someone and right away you make a judgment, even though you might not consider yourself a judgy person. It's just how we are as humans. So I feel like having that being conscious of your unconscious biases is very important. And what do we need to do to bring inclusion to the next level? Like I said, keep educating people, not giving up on the fight for equality, speaking up and being an advocate for minorities and people whose voices are not usually heard. Not getting tired.
Okay, good. And so in a perfect world, in your eyes, how would your communities live? Perfect world.
Well, in a perfect world, we wouldn't have to do this.
Right.
Right? In a perfect world, we would just all get along and be accepted as we are. There would just be no need for these types of initiatives, which I think are right now fundamental, and I'm so glad that we're doing them. But in my perfect reality, people would just be accepted for who they are and be able to love who they are, and we wouldn't judge people based on their sexuality or their skin tone or their native language or their culture or religion. If I said that again, I'm sorry. But that, for me, that's what perfect equality looks like, and we all have the same rights, and we're all able to have access to the same opportunities. And
okay. What is your legacy, and what do you want the future to hold in store for you?
Wow, that's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
You know, what I want my legacy to be is one of love. Definitely, I want to be remembered as someone who loved unconditionally, as someone who got past appearances and judgments and just got to know people for who they really are. What do I want the world or life to hold in store for me? I guess more opportunities like this. More opportunities to tell my story, more opportunities to help people, to raise awareness, to educate. This is something that I'm really passionate about, and something that I do on the side of my day-to-day job, and I hope that I can continue to do it forever.
So how can people get in contact with you to keep up the conversation?
Sure. Instagram is probably the best way. I am very, like the millennial I am, I am super active on social media, and I would say Instagram. My Instagram is public and anyone can reach me. My handle is @Dani Chirinos. I'm sure you can add a little caption there to
for
just
sure. Yeah,
spell
on the
it for
website. Yeah,
people.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But feel free to follow me or send me a DM, ask me, or if you live in Toronto, I'd be more than happy to set up a time to meet and chat and just share experiences.
That sounds great. Thanks, Daniela. And any closing words or remarks?
Well, thank you for thinking of me for this, Jonathan. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I guess as closing words, just remember to love each other. Remember to be kind to others, because you don't know what other people are going through behind what might seem like a smile or just a facade. Just always be kind and thoughtful of others, and don't be so quick to judge. That's it, and just do things with love.
That's it. Yeah. Well, Daniela, I want to personally and wholeheartedly express my gratitude for taking the time to join us on Who Are We and supporting me at Eden. I hope everyone listening and reading has learned something new and in future can continue to support Daniela and her community wherever possible. It is the right thing to do. Muchas gracias, Daniela, for her letting us get to know you. So please join me next time on another edition of Who Are We, where we will have a brand new guest speaking about who they are. Make sure you stay up to date with us at Eden by checking out the website when it is up and running, and ensure you follow us on social media with the hashtag EdenNow. That's EDINOW. Lastly, make sure you familiarize yourself with the Canadian Human Rights Act and Employment Equity Act, as this is the foundation of the work I do. We need equality, diversity, and inclusion now. My name is Jonathan Kinsunji, and the more you know, the more you grow. We want to say thanks to the Old Spaghetti Factory here on 54 Esplanade at Toronto, Ontario. And goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you for having me.
For sure.
Yay!